che mo fa sera?
We are live, guys.
Well, hello, and welcome to Talking in Stations, a broadcast and a podcast about EVE Online, recorded live on Twitch, Saturdays, 1500 Universal Time. I'm your guest host, Carneros, covering for Matterall, who's away this week. EVE Online is a science fiction computer game played all around the world and all around the clock, and it is home to just an amazing, complex community and rotation of people coming in and playing at different times. Politics, governance, trade, economics, and war have created a 14-year continuum of history, and it's amazing, all made by the players themselves. Today we're going to take a look at the question, do CCP developers play EVE alongside us? And if so, where? This is always a fun thing to talk about. Let me introduce you to our guests today. First of all, today we have CCP Falcon from CCP's community department. Say hello, Falcon.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good morning, or good evening to you. And also to thank you to Noisy Gamer for coming on and joining us, a premier investigator on the EVE Online platform and social media expert, even though he doesn't say that.
I'm also very bad with push to talk. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here today.
Nice. Also have Apple Pear, an FC from Hogyoku Corporation in Goonswarm.
Hi.
And a big thank you to our producer, McLeod, from the graduates in the initiative.
Hello there.
My name again is Carneros. I'm the CEO of The Bastion. And many years ago, 5 years ago, I used to be an EVE Online dev as well at CCP. 5 years goes by. So let's jump in for a moment. We've got several parts of the show today. We wanted to talk about our main question about EVE Online and do CCP devs play with us. We also want to talk about EVE news and in-game news and development news. There've been a couple. There's been a dev blog and a dev post this week that's meaningful. We also just want to talk about what's going on in the game. And here's a little bit of a surprise for some of you. Ready? 2 months from today, instead of sitting here, I'm going to be sitting in a hotel at EVE Vegas with my buddies, getting ready for the beginning of the EVE Vegas event. How many of you are ready?
Ooh, for EVE Vegas.
Ready?
I am.
Well,
I'm excited.
Just to let you know, there was some flooding in the hotel parking lot last night. So you might, if you're driving because you're from California, you might want to look out.
It's monsoon season here at the moment. It's been doing it here. I live in San Diego County, or San Diego, California, and it's been flooding here. Every day there's been the little warnings that come through on your watch and your phone telling you, flash flood alerts in this part, so you have to be careful. It's crazy. But it'll be dried up by then. It'll be fine.
What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen? You have to fly home
Oh,
with your winnings.
You have to use a boat plane.
You might want to deposit your winnings before you get on the plane.
Yeah, good point.
Roger. All right. Well, thank you very much. Let's take a moment and look at what is happening in EVE Online. First of all, if you by any chance look at any of the if you look at any of the kill boards, you're going to see some interesting stuff. Let me give a link to McLeod to put up.
Oh yeah, please.
This is the list of recent dead Rorquals. Holy cow, have there been a lot of dead Rorquals. And if you just look through this screen of it and scroll down a bit, what you'll notice is most of them, a huge number of them, are in Delve. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Imperium has deployed away from Delve and just left some stubborn ratters and miners back there who are being quickly culled through with the help of a Pandemic Legion dread cache nearby. Turns out it's pretty effective, and they don't even have to use very many of them, and they can burn through. Actually, also a fair number of dead super capitals this week. But I'd say we got to be down a good, 40 Rorquals in Delve this week.
40.
40
at least.
Rorquals, a lot of money.
And the funny thing, 20 of those we lost during the State of the Union. It was crazy.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, whenever the Imperium goes to war, it generally starts with the Mittani giving a big fancy speech called the State of the Union. And this was a little bit fancier than most. There was a really cool video that got me stirred and grinning with the lighting of the beacons. I loved it. And we all piled into fleets after that and started moving away. But, people were already prepping at the time that the speech was getting ready to start. And there was already no protection for anybody who was doing anything stupid. And, if you're going to do something stupid, you might as well do it at really large scale, say with 20 Rorquals and 2 super carriers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So he gave us a good start off.
Well, the other kind of thing is it's fairly customary for Imperium deployments to start off with some kind of massive whelp for the whelp gods, right?
Yeah, we have to praise the Whelp gods indeed, otherwise we cannot win.
But then again, one can say that NC has also, been praising the whelp gods as well, to some degree.
And it's probably the same kind of thing where it's one or two guys not doing what the rest of the folks are doing and not following all the rules properly, who are finding themselves getting caught out on the sidelines. Am I right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, there was a little incident in Placid that involved, I'm going to say, 3 NC avatars and I think like 4 Nixes and an Aeon. Although some would say an Aeon only counts for half a super carrier.
that age old thing.
Just squirreling around over here.
But yeah, that was an interesting moment of Friday, I have to say.
Yeah. So there's been a little bit of people jockeying around. One thing that was interesting about this deployment was somehow it got kept really secret where we were going and what we were doing until pretty much the last minute. As far as I know, there was some speculation happening in various places. If you read Reddit, you saw some of it. But there was some, but in the end, I don't think people really guessed where exactly we were going. They held it really close to their chests. As someone who used to live in Vale of the Silent, I was tickled pink when they picked Hakonnen as our staging system. Loved that. And then, it was just an interesting set of who to fight and what kind of ships might be coming and what to do next. So it's fun. It's not not everyone gets tied up in the narrative of these wars. Some of us just like to go and have fun activities and blow stuff up and get blown up and see exciting parts of the world, because New Eden is a place that is designed to be visited all over, not just all in your own home system. So this is great.
Oh yeah, if your only experience in Eve is a single kind of region out in the middle of nowhere, or something like HiSec, whatever, then you really haven't experienced Eve. You really need to go out and meet new people and shoot them in the face.
And I think a lot of people in Imperium are looking forward to this. If you see the fleet numbers we have and how much excitement there is for this deployment, it's just crazy.
As somebody that doesn't live in Nullsec, and this is still hopefully going to impact me, because all the people that like to shoot things are going to gravitate up to where you guys are deployed, and I'll be able to mine really quietly in my low sec system, except for when a couple wormholers pop in and want to shoot me.
Well, another way it could affect you is try to avoid needing to buy anything in Cheetah right now, because we've done we've run roughshod over certain parts of the market there, and you'll see. It's hard to tell sometimes whether we purely ate up all of the local supply, or if people saw what we were going to take and bought it all up and relisted it. It's hard to tell.
I suspect it is a combination of both, but if you see, if you deploy with just one jump freighter jump out of Cheetah, then that will be your prime supply point. So yeah, then the goon rushes are a thing that really empties the market.
There was one point yesterday I saw when Pandemic Legion was split into two pieces. They had a group up in the north defending attacks on Sov, and then and it wasn't just their Sov, it was NC.Sov and PL Sov and just things in Tribute and Veil. And then they had another group back down in Delve hot dropping Ratters at the same time. So, something for everyone.
It's good that they clean up the Delve a bit with all the people who don't deploy. If you don't know it by now and you're still mining in your capital or raiding in your capital, then you deserve to die.
So we have a few timers on the timer boards now, but it's still just getting started, a little bit of something. But if you're bored and your corp's not doing too much, and your friends are off on summer break, get yourself in an honorable third-party ship and come on out and try to make trouble on some of these official timer boards. All right, let's talk about anything else on the just beginning war. It doesn't even have a name.
I think that, this is one of the things. I've been kind of wondering whether this war is actually a new war, or, as other people have been saying, a continuation of the war that people thought had finished but might not be.
I got the feeling that right now this is just a deployment for the Imperium, so you don't really name the deployment. I mean, unless you're gonna do something for a year and you're gonna call it Max something 1 or Max something 2 or whatever.
I agree.
I think at one point there will become a name. Some people have suggested some things, etc. But nothing has come up yet, and something gets chosen, and then everybody runs with it. So,
or it could wind up that during this campaign of a month or whatever it winds up to be, everybody loses 200 or 300 Titans, and then that's going to be the thing that names the war.
Yep,
that would be good.
And don't forget, like, it's not only Imperium that deployed to Hakonen, but also Testes in the north, and Init is doing their thing again in Syndicate. So after like a slower period, we really see things winding up a bit. They have Tri doing things and CO2 fighting in the south. So there's a lot of things happening now. So that's good.
It is pretty good. One of the other things that is also happening as well. Sorry to just throw ourselves on a tangent here as well. One of the other things that's happening in the EVE universe, but kind of separated, is the AT tournament at the moment. Reason why I wanted to actually bring it up was because I actually wanted to put the stream on stream. If you guys are completely cool with that.
Is the initiative about to fight?
I'm not sure, but like we might have a game that might be quite taxing, quite difficult for us.
You're welcome to throw it up from time to time during the show. It's hard to, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to do a talk show and compete with the Alliance tournament at the same time. Holy cow!
Oh, totally. That's kind of one of the reasons why I kind of feel like it'll be nice for our viewers to be able to see both streams at the same time, which I think would be really good.
Go for it.
At least GSF decided to boundary boundary everything with like 9 ships. So
Actually,
yeah,
did look like he kind of went, nah, I'm out. Yeah, Goons kind of lost their matchup.
but they had a pretty good run with getting through the feeder rounds and at least winning one match in the Lions tournament after like 3 or 4 years before they were really in the tournament again. So I think they did pretty well.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I could say that having tried my hand at it for the first time this year. There was a lot to learn, a lot of behind the scenes stuff I didn't realize was there. It's 5 times more complicated than I thought. It was fun though, and your blood gets going as you get in the match. It's quite an experience. I recommend it for everyone, but don't plan to get very far in the tournament unless you really know what you're doing.
Oh my god, what is Jintan wearing, for Christ's sake?
What the hell?
Oh my god!
I think it's his pimp costume. I think he's worn it once before, like in one of the NT
Is this him
sponsored things.
Is this him role playing as a member of CVA? Gold and the Amar Empire and all that.
Were they not kicked out of the Mar Empire because their standings were too low?
That is pretty. To be fair, that is a pretty intense jacket.
But yeah,
I think the last time he wore that was when he was also Oh, I'm sorry, it's a different jacket than when he was wearing his pink cowboy hat.
My apologies to the listeners to the podcast after this live broadcast.
That's actually kind of
He's wearing a sort of like a matte black and gold, sparkly, richly printed sport coat over a black dress shirt and a gold reflective mirror tie. And he's got gold and black pimp glasses on. And he is missing a glass of champagne somehow.
He basically looks like an NPC from Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, he just looks like an NPC.
When he arrives for the Alliance tournament and for the CSM summit, his name is now going to be Adam Jensen for like 3 weeks.
Well played, Falcon. Well played. All right. Well, dear Lord, that was a distracting outfit. Love it. Full credit.
Yeah, full credit where it's due, most definitely. But anyway.
Yeah, we even just getting Alliance tournament practices were interesting. Learning how to play on that practice server, Thunderdome, it's called. It doesn't operate like Tranquility or Serenity or Singularity. It's totally different, and there's
a lot of differences in comparison to like Tranquility, but like there's some similarities, and like really the only kind of similarity that they have to really deal with is the matching system and the mock-up match kind of system that they have to utilize and work with.
I have to give huge credit to CCP for that server, because it is a really big
It
it's
makes
a
a
really
big difference, yeah, definitely.
yeah. I'm laughing at the Chesser burned out his prop mod thing in local.
Whoops.
It's not what you
But it
expect
makes a
from a
big
high
difference.
tier pilot.
And I didn't realize when we got on there to practice that all the other teams were going to fake their names and not let people know who they were fighting. And then we all show up with our real names so everyone could to see, what ships we're playing with. And just all kinds of undocumented lessons to learn.
Did you not expect a meta game in even the AT kind of practices?
I didn't, because I thought AT had to be a level playing field and stuff like that, other than the obvious tournament ships. But nope, that's how you learn in EVE Online.
But yeah, I think one of the best additions this year is the feeder tournaments. For that, it's like it gives so many people a more chance to get involved, and I think that that did very good to the Alliance tournament.
It's more inclusive, right? Like, people don't feel like it's like the AT tournament is an elite club for only select individuals. They feel like it's something that they could potentially get involved with, even if they're haven't been around for absolutely ages.
Yeah, and it also might help that on the first day that Hydra Reloaded lost their first match, and so you get even more of a sense that anything can happen, and even the powers can, like, if they have a bad day, they could just like get wiped.
It's true. You need to be up on your game, and like, even if you do have a bad match, you can't let that phase you in the next match. If you're lucky enough to actually have a next match. But yeah, shall we move on, Carneros, to
Yes,
Dev
the
Blog?
next thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
There were a couple things this week. First of all, we went live with the new forums that everybody kind of chimed in, looked at, and said, "Hey, these are nice," and adopted without any of the normal complaints about changing something in EVE Online. You know how anyone who's been playing for a couple of years or more feels like, "Oh no, don't change my game. You're screwing up everything. I can't use the new scanning tool. I can't find anything on the new map. It's not where I expected it to be." It's like when when you move all the furniture and your cats are trying to figure out where everything is now. Yeah, it's that's usually what you get when you change something in the user interface in EVE. No, that's not what happened with the forums. Everyone said, "Oh, this is good. Yeah, go for it."
I do like the new forums, actually, to be completely honest. Like, there's been some people who have complained about the fact, like, to do with the scrolling kind of bar, but I think the thing is, a lot of people don't, like, on a good number of the forums, they don't have, like, the scroll bar area actually has a lot more involved in it than just being a scroll bar. Like, there's a lot more that can be done with it that doesn't show on every single thread. So I think when a lot of people kind of complain about the new forums with the scroll bar being like taking up a large proportion of the screen real estate, I think a lot of people don't realize that scroll bar in particular forums actually has a lot more utilization involved in it than just being a scroll bar, right?
User interface improvements, make a big difference. Another one that got announced coming up has to do with structures. this August, there are going to be some changes to structures, some fine tuning. And one of the things I'm excited about is structure deployment. You'll be able to place a structure, rotate it, and see what direction the ships will exit and from, so you can get it lined up in the way that you want. I will make a plea out to CCP designers not to make structures where the ships come out in two different directions, because that's a pain in the ass to line up. But
It is kind of, yeah.
when I first started dropping structures from my alliance, what I would do is I would go and look at the example version, and then I would start to drop it and look at this sort of wireframey version that they give me and try to rotate it to match what I was seeing with the example version on another account. And I would try to line it up, and sometimes, a couple times, I got it up exactly perfectly opposite, so it went in the wrong direction. And then, it's a week to take it down and put it back up. Very frustrating.
I did. I had to drop a Rotaro this week, and I undocked with an other alt in Delph and set on the Rotaro to look how the model looked if I wanted to write undock, etc. So that's how I solved that problem, because I really didn't know where the things are. And that's like a very good improvement. Same as like fueling. You don't have to have specific roles anymore outside taking control to fuel those citadels. That makes life so much easier.
I would have done it a little bit differently. I would have given them a 5-minute timer that said, if you don't like what you dropped in the first 5 minutes, as it starts to deploy, you can pick it back up and turn it around. But this works too. This works too.
Yeah, and they also did like a thing to the bombs, etc. I'm not 100% convinced on the bomb changes. They made like that launching bombs is now 40 seconds. And the ranges are a bit smaller, especially for void bombs to 20 kilometers. But they did the amount of cap they take is now at instant 6,000 instead of 4,000. So it's still, it takes more cap away. It's less regular, but it takes more cap away. So I don't think it will have that much effect. And
it takes away cap in a smaller area, though. It's only a 20-kilometer area of effect instead of a 40-kilometer area of effect for a void bomb. And it does have the same range it used to. It's just going to move, the bomb will move slower, but it will...
Yeah, but the alpha of the bomb, dus the amount of cap it drains, when the old bomb hit, it was 4,000. And now it's 6,000. It's because of it launches every 40 seconds. The amount it takes per second is lower, but if you get hit, the amount it takes down from you is higher. And I don't really like that part of it.
Well, I think the idea of that is to be something that is avoidable by subcap fleets if they're looking out for it, so long as they're looking out for it, kind of thing. So, with it taking longer to having a longer duration and a smaller area of effect. So
it's still
technically subcap groups should be able to avoid it if they're looking out for it, but it becomes basically much more of a threat to actual capitals. But then again,
it's still. Mm-hmm. It's still hard to avoid it, because if you really want to mess people up, you just point and web the person who is getting bombed, so he cannot warp off or really burn away. So either you leave him alone and he gets killed, or the whole fleet is still affected with it. So it's still not brings the more, like, you still will see maybe a bit more other comms, but you still see the same fleet comms for it to attack structures for now.
Yeah, I don't know much about structures, but can a structure point somebody as well as issue out the void bombs?
Yes.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is it sounds like it may be that the operator of the structure has to like click 2 buttons now and actually use 2 modules in order to kill one ship instead of just wipe out one.
It's not more buttons, but some people were talking about a tactic you can use if you get void bombed is just warp away, because then the void bomb follows the one person and only hits that person and everybody around it. So what you can do with a bomb is warp away and then warp back. But if the operator from that citadel knows a bit about the mechanic, what he will do is just point and web the person he bombs, so that person cannot warp away and is always affected with the bomb itself. And then either the fleet must all move away out of range of that person, what makes him more vulnerable, or they must eat that bomb. So, and I think because of you want to have your fleet complete and all together, is especially with big fleets that are flying in nullsec, if you see numbers we're getting, then people will stay anchored up and it will still have the same effect. Really, it has less, but still, it's still. I don't think it's enough of an improvement for a big meta change for structure hiding, especially with also, and that's something Asher is less happy about, is the kiting doctrines is like not possible because of the 250 kilometers web. So it's pretty much impossible to get out of web range of a structure and still shoot it. And if you are in range, then you just put the anchor down and nobody can catch up and you kill that slowly. So you cannot really use fast doctrines on Citadel shit. So I think the meta it's better, but I don't think it's enough to really change it.
There's still room for improvement in order to give a little bit of room for people to, joust and kind of do their thing on grid.
And they made more changes than just to the void bombs. They also changed their anti-subcap missiles as well, where they increased the damage on them. Maybe that's all they did, was increase the damage on them to make up a little bit for nerfing the void bombs slightly. So it makes sense.
I think.
Yeah,
I think fair enough, but there's a lot of trepidation, it seems, with a lot of groups wanting to actually fight on, well, not on the same grid, but in basically that 250 kilometer kind of range of a citadel. Like, at least, from my experience, there seems to be a lot of trepidation for people wanting to take fights there. Like, unless it's a gank, unless you're, say, ganking an Aeon on a Fortizar on dock, for example.
We still have to see how it all goes, and I understand they don't want to go too big too soon, etc. So I hope they watch it and iterate on it in the next few months, and if it really doesn't change.
Another thing they changed is improved usability for fueling your structure. If you're driving your automobile, you can see your fuel tank, and you've got a fuel gauge that tells you how much fuel you've got in it at any given, just at a glance. But you don't really have that on an upwell structure. If you know what you're doing and you've got a character local, you can go in and look inside it and dock up and go look at what's there. Or you get a notification just before it runs out. But you don't sort of, anywhere you are in Eve, have the ability to just pull up a rack of gauges to see what all your structures are at. Which, by the way, I'm not suggesting, because it wouldn't scale very well. So I've been caught before in a moment where I had nobody with the right roles in the right place to go and fuel something. So I love that they're loosening it a little bit and letting more people and more roles be able to fuel structures without having to just give them all lots of roles. I think
because those extra roles are very risky, because it's structure manager. You pretty much can do everything with a Citadel except transferring into another corp, and so that's a very risky move to give out those roles. So I'm very happy that everybody who can take control can now fuel the damn thing. That makes life so much easier.
And they added corporation insurance in upwell structures. I didn't actually know this existed until reading this dev blog. I didn't realize that a corporation could insure ships, hand them out to people, and if it died, the money went back to the corporation. instead of to the individuals. Did you guys know about this?
Well, PL had I don't know whether they still do it, but they had a long run or a long stint where, like, their doctrine ships they handed out to their members before and op, from the corporation hangar kind of thing, from a hangar. That I mean, I imagine they probably insured it in that sort of same manner. I mean, I haven't been in an alliance where they have, like, where most of your ships, line ships, are actually given out to you, but we do have like certain specific ships that are designed to be handed out, and I'm quite glad that you can actually you can insure them, especially in Citadels now, so that's really awesome. Any of you experienced that kind of level of communism, I would say, like in Eve?
Well, yeah, lots of handout ship space communism, absolutely, including things like dreadnoughts in dreadnought caches, for example. But I didn't see anything happening on the subject of insurance, other than the FC would tell you if you were instructed to insure your dread before a particular op. And honestly, the last time we did one of those big hot drops and passed out dreads to everybody in a dread cache, I was the only one to come back alive with this dread and give it back.
Well,
Don't
as
rule out the old
CEO
guys.
of a corporation as well, you probably wouldn't mind, having all of those corp insures. So you, like, the wallet suddenly starts flashing when people start dying. Be like the silver lining of the cloud, right?
This particular war thing that may or may not be starting, this deployment, could end up being very expensive for the Bastion. So we're not wealthy like Goonswarm. No, this will be good. Yeah, good stuff. But as part of some of these adjustments to Upwell structures, there's a side effect happening on the old POSes that are officially called starbases. Those POSes are losing their industry bonuses starting sometime in August. Now, if you've already started a job before the day the change goes into effect, your job will continue at its current bonuses until it completes. Not a problem.
That's good.
But you won't be able to start a new one with a bonus. It will just be it would be as if it were a bare naked functionality with 0 bonuses to it. So you're going to want to do it in a Upwell structure instead.
Oh, okay.
But if you're making a motion picture and you just want to video it, and you've got some kind of historical or nostalgic reason why you want to be able to build or do something in a POS, you can do. You just also, you're going to have to find one that's already up, because I don't think you can deploy any of those structures anymore. You can deploy a starbase, but you can't put the reprocessing arrays up or the super capital ship assembly arrays, if I got that word right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not entirely certain, but you can still put them up. I do remember not too long ago actually seeing a crazy picture of someone having a SCSAA, or whatever the abbreviation is, up in, it was either a medium or a small POS, which was just ridiculous because it only just fit into that POS.
That's supposed to be a hint from you from the game. Don't do this.
Yeah, just like this might not be too, this might not be the good idea. Actually, I don't think it was an SS. I don't think it was a assembly array. It may have been a. What was the other one, which looks pretty much exactly like it, right?
Oh, the one super cap ship maintenance array or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was probably. I think it was either an SCSAA or a super cap maintenance bay.
When I see someone who puts an undersized POS and puts that in, I really want to be back there for when the ship comes out of build, because I'm pretty sure they won't know tricks like which way to have your ship pointed when you do remove the job from the structure, because it will make their Titan or super carrier bounce out and go off into space in the wrong direction because they don't know what they're doing. And if you're there in an interceptor, you can get a free ship. Free ship.
Perfectly free ship. Yeah, you kind of like, and that's probably one of the really good things about having that lineup exiting like indication when you're dropping a Citadel now, is that you can actually probably see that direction. So if you point that at your keep star, for example, you can eject it, grab it, and then just insta warp straight to your keep. And like
the new way is like you just finish the job, and the damn thing just gets in your ship hangar, and then you trade it to the pilot that can sit in in your Titan, and then you can undock and never dock in the Satuyo again. But like that's not the biggest issue, because it's a longer of range that you tether on it safely. But you can just fit the ship completely and sit in it before you undock. So it doesn't have like the old way of launching out of a bus and making sure you catch it fast enough, etc. anymore. So yeah, the bit of that is gone, but it makes your life so much easier when you get a Titan.
Another thing that changed is, is changing in August, is the UI for doing moon scans. Like if you want to know what fancy moon mining options are available on your moon, you send these. Go ahead.
Actually, that's kind of funny. Like, who here actually has run moon surveys in the current system? Like, I'd love to know this.
I have.
You have? You have Apple, have you?
No.
You haven't. Okay, fair enough. Falcon.
But
have you ever run surveys on moons before, at all?
Yeah, I've done it a few times. Back way back when.
Way back when. Yeah. I remember doing a bunch when I was in recon and scouts and stuff like that. So yeah, I've definitely done my fair share of it. Definitely.
And the current UI hasn't changed in a long time for those moon probes, have they?
No.
I actually I don't think it's changed. I don't think it's changed since it was introduced, barring a few little iterations. So this is a big overhaul for it.
The old system was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think they may have. I think the only thing that really changed is I think they made it so they did change one aspect of it where you could actually, like, after you dropped the probe, but you hadn't got the results. They did change it so you could actually jump system, and you'd still receive the results. Because previously, like, you had to stay in the system to get the results, and if you left the system, you didn't get the results, which was really aggravating.
Yeah, that was like the most annoying thing when I found out when I was doing it. It's just gonna make, and I guess they need to do it because since they're doing the whole moon goo redistribution, you gotta be able to like find all that where all the moon goo is now, and fairly quickly to make sure that the economy isn't disrupted that much.
There are only like 4,000 moons in Delft to scan, so that's only Delft, and then you have all the other regions.
Exactly, and I think if you're going to be changing up moon, like, you know, obviously doing the moon mining changes, and you're obviously going to be, you know, redistributing in a kind of sort of weighted random kind of way all the way around, you're basically forcing people into you know, spending time with a certain mechanic. So it's probably a good idea to make sure that mechanic doesn't make you want to sort of, you know, go throw yourself off a bridge and stuff like that. So I'm very glad to see that changes are coming to it.
But I'll do it when it comes out. I'll try it. Looks like fun.
Oh, I'll definitely pitch in, yeah.
Well, I'm like looking at my LOSEC region and going around just to see if anybody's going to maybe put up a moon mining operation, because it would be fun to actually do a little ninja mining of that moon goo.
You're going to want to know where your opportunities are likely to occur. So you have to go and check.
I wonder how many people are gonna like try and fake moons, like try and sort of put up pauses and stuff like that, or no, well, put up the new refineries. Like, actually, that's the thing. Like, because a lot of people would put up like small, regular, large, like small, medium, and large sort of pauses to gather the moon materials, but like you could always tell which ones were the 32s and 64s, because people would put a hell of a lot more into defending or putting hardening that pos up, kind of thing. So you could almost go around nullsec systems and be like, okay, well, that that large faction pos with a bajillion guns on it, hardened to crap, and has a moon mining array on it, might very well be a 32/64. Whereas, like, I mean, is there a difference in size? Like, is there multiple different sizes in the new refineries? I'm not entirely certain.
I thought there were two different sizes of the refineries.
Yes, 2
Yeah, there are.
mediums and larges or something like that.
Because I was wondering, because one of the other aspects of putting up new posers or mining moon mining posers is, especially when it's not a 64 or 32, is you're always trying to look at the offset of maintaining and running that pos over and above the amount of ISK that you're going to get out of that, via moon goo and stuff. So I'm kind of wondering whether the medium pos will actually be functional to a certain degree with the lower tier R16s or maybe R8s.
I'm kind of expecting those to be used in low sec, just because you may not want to actually risk that, the larger size. While the larger size, since like in nullsec you have bubbles, better intelligence networks and stuff like that, it might be safer to use the larger ones in null.
That's true.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be the case. I've got a feeling that the way that it's going to work is the vast majority of the mediums are going to be used in low sec, mainly by kind of smaller corps and alliances that don't hold SOV, who want to moon mine, and then sort of like the larges are going to be the ones that are used by nullsec alliances who can protect their infrastructure and blockade a lot easier to prevent them being attacked. I mean, that kind of seems the logical way to do it, and I think I don't want to speak for them, but I think like kind of the game design team are thinking along those lines as well, to give sort of the little guys a leg up and to be able to use something smaller that takes less investment and is going to cost less money. So when you lose it, it's not going to be as big of a financial hit to you.
I think also it depends on what the stats are on those structures. If it's really worth to put a large on the moon, or if it's just enough for mining to put a medium on it, and just put larges in other places where you can do the refining and all the moon goo alchemy and all those kind of things. It really, I think it's really looking into that. I know for our corp we are just going to get some mediums just to give people the opportunity to mine something and see how it goes from there.
So are you looking forward
let's-
to Falcon, are you looking forward to actually potentially being part of doing, like, not the passive kind of moon mining, but the soon to be active kind of moon mining? Or at least taking part
Yeah,
in that?
I mean, like for me, I think it's been a change that's a long time coming. I think that it's a little bit controversial because a lot of people basically don't like mining and don't like mining mechanics because, yeah, it can, for some people, it can be pretty boring. But I think, you get a big group of industrialists out there chewing through the rocks that you pull out of a moon. It's going to create some interesting content, definitely. I mean, I don't mind personally. I'm more involved in other stuff in game. But I think for those guys who really enjoy industry and enjoy kind of the social side of mining and just getting together, having a few beers and shooting the shit while you chew through rocks, it's going to give people a little bit more content. And I think kind of the passive version of moon mining has really been kind of flawed for a long time. It's been a big ISK faucet that's been like, whack a structure up, press a button, receive ISK effectively. So it's been something that really has needed to be addressed for a long time, in my eyes at least.
Well, speaking of what kinds of EVE gameplay you participate in, let's switch over to the subject of, do CCP employees play EVE all around us?
Contrary to popular belief, we certainly do, yes.
Yes, I know. Tell us for a moment, let's say one of us were to join CCP as a full-time staff member, and we've got existing EVE accounts. What are the rules for us coming in? What will happen to us?
So it kind of depends a little bit. The second stage kind of depends a little bit on what you do in game. But the first stage is you come in, you have your usual company introduction where you go through like everything to do with the company. And then what actually happens is for the first 6 months of your employment, your existing accounts get banned. So you can't access them. And you basically start as a rookie. So you get, as an employee, you get 5 free accounts. And on top of that, each of those accounts has multiple character training enabled. So you have 10 training queues, basically. And then from there, what you do is you just start fresh. So it gives you kind of an appreciation of what it's like to be a rookie and what it's like to go through the first stages of the game again. And for me, I mean, I'd been playing since release. Actually, I'd been playing since beta. So like having all of my stuff taken away and starting fresh really give me an appreciation for like what new players go through when they join the game 10 years on. And it's tough. It really is. It's tough to kind of reset the clock after like 10 years. So that's the interesting stage. Then after 6 months, what they do is you'll have a sit down with our wonderful internal affairs department, namely CCV Arcanon, and he'll basically he'll take a look at your accounts, what you were doing, where you were playing, and if you were a very, very prominent player, and you're well known. I used to be a mouthy little son of a bitch when I was an EVE player, so I was pretty well known. I was prominent. I'd done a lot of work on the Alliance tournament in the past. Basically, if you're really prominent, then what happens is internal affairs will say, okay, you can't play as your original character for reasons of potential bias, favoritism. You might be harassed, that kind of stuff. So you end up basically going into what's known internally, funnily, as witness protection, where you get the option to clone your characters, so you transfer your skill points to a new character, you get a fresh name, clean employment history, and you play the game anonymously. And the best part about this is they actually sort of move all your assets to one place for you, so you get a fresh start, and you basically are then just dumped into the game, and it's like, okay, have a good one, go and play the game and have fun.
Very nice.
That's pretty cool.
Are there rules for how CCP employees can play EVE? Are there parts of the game they can't play, for example?
There are no parts of the game that you really can't play. I mean, you can pretty much do whatever you want, but we're generally sort of encouraged to stay away from the gray areas of the game, so stuff like scamming, that kind of stuff, ripping people off. That side of things, while it's not prohibited, it's generally kind of frowned upon if we're running around as employees creating a crap load of support tickets or potentially making people quit the game. So we're asked to kind of keep in line and not be dicks too much to players. But other than that, we're kind of loose in terms of restrictions. I mean, it's as far as I'm aware, at least, it's acceptable, for instance, for us to be capital and super capital pilots. It's acceptable for you to be a member of a nullsec alliance and be involved with large scale fleet battles, stuff like that. But it's generally frowned upon to be in kind of a position of political power or a position where you can really heavily influence the meta of the game or politics in the game, because we like to kind of leave that to you guys.
Not to interrupt here, but just ironically, I've got eyes open in a certain system in nullsec, And there was just a skirmish on the gate, and some ships died. And I can see the side that won are talking to each other in local, in Icelandic. And you know, I lived there and I took classes for a year and a half, and I can understand what they're saying. And they're one saying, "Hey, do you want to take some of the loot that just dropped?" And the other said, "Yeah, I'll talk." And the other one said, "Warp over to, to me and blah blah blah. Take it from my fleet hangar." I'm like, wow. Wonder if they're CCP employees. That's pretty ballsy to be talking in Icelandic and local, bro.
Yeah, it's that's kind of one of the challenges that we face as CCPers. I mean, for instance, I think it's kind of worse for sort of the expats who move to Iceland, because you turn up. For instance, I turn up on TeamSpeak or on Discord or whatever. I've got an Icelandic IP address, but yeah, I can't exactly hide this Northeast English accent. So it's like, okay, a guy from Northeast England playing from Iceland, playing EVE Online in a country of 330,000 people. There's kind of, there's a good, decent chance that this guy works for CCP. So there's certain things that's like, that are super difficult to work with in our terms. It can be really difficult to kind of stay anonymous. So yeah, there's all kinds of like VPN trickery and all kinds of ridiculousness that sometimes we have to do to stay anonymous, which can be a bit of a ball ache.
Which reminds me when I started discovering the meta game behind the meta game of EVE Online. I was like, oh my god, this is just far too involved for me. I'm out, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, as you said, can be kind of obviously quite awkward and quite difficult to sort of disguise whether you're actually a CCP employee playing from Iceland. Do you guys get access to premium voice changer software, that kind of stuff?
That's not part of our employment benefits, no.
Aww.
Well, what do you do if you get discovered?
So if you get discovered, then it's really unfortunate. Generally, you'll go into double witness protection, where you'll get a rename, and you'll basically lose a character. So it can be super unfortunate. I know there's been a couple of people in the past who've been super sad because, like, for one reason or another, a player has found out about the identity of their character and they've outed them to a few people, and then obviously it becomes an issue, and we have to be expunged, so to speak. So we kind of lose the character, and we lose the progress and everything related to it, and we have to take a rename and go through the whole process again, which is can be a pain. I know some CCPs as well find it difficult to join corporations too, because some of the super extensive background checking and stuff like that you have to go through can really hamper getting into a corporate alliance, especially when sort of you kind of get the Spanish Inquisition before you join, given the paranoia of EVE players. So it can be kind of troublesome in that respect, and it can be a real challenge to actually get into a decent sized corporate alliance.
That's pretty crazy. I love the idea of the witness protection inception.
Let's look at it from the other point of view for a second. Instead of the point of view of the employee, the point of view of us gamers out there. What if we think someone is a CCP employee playing incognito? What should we do?
Best advice is just keep your mouth shut about it. I mean, there's a lot of CCPers out there who absolutely, everyone who works on the EVE project loves EVE, and the vast majority of us play it too. And it's nice to be able to learn about the game. It's nice to be able to keep up with current affairs. It's really good to be in a corporation alliance where you can actually play with game mechanics. You can be sat in corporate alliance chat and you can listen to people and learn, and judge sentiment around features, that kind of stuff. So it is very much a learning experience for us. I mean, I find myself sort of, if I'm I'm mainly involved in factional warfare, and I also do a little bit of nullsec PvP, roaming around, that kind of stuff now and again when I get a chance to play. And it's a case of it's really nice for me to be able to like look in like various channels that I'm sat in and to hear things. And just to like listen and say, yeah, well, this is an issue. This is an issue. This is just people complaining. And I've even gone to the point where I've been playing and I've been like, oh, I'll go and I'll ping someone an email about this because it's a problem kind of thing. So we discover things that way as well. But yeah, for a player who thinks that someone might be a dev, definitely I think the best thing to do is like keep it quiet, keep it to yourself kind of thing. Because, if you start shooting your mouth off about it, it's the same as, I guess, kind of if there was a famous person playing Eve and all of a sudden, like, we find out that, like, I don't know, like Anthony Hopkins or Morgan Freeman or Samuel L. Jackson or something like that is playing Eve, then they would just get inundated with crap, basically. They'd have 1,000,001 Eve mails coming out their ears. They'd have stuff that was entirely unrelated to the game coming their way. I mean, for instance, I'm playing Eve. If people found out who my player character was, I'd have like 1,000,000 messages, and this has happened before, where it's like, wow, can you deal with my support ticket? Can you answer questions about this? And I'm like, no, I'm kind of on my downtime and I'm playing the game and I just want to actually experience the game and play Eve. So it's a little bit selfish from our point of view, I guess, that like we just want to kind of relax and unwind and play the game. But yeah, it can be pretty disruptive if you get outed or someone finds out about you, or all of a sudden you've got people who are kind of chasing you around in game, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's best to keep it incognito.
No, I think that's completely
Now,
understandable.
if you've got a group of people who are CCP employees who are all playing incognito and trying to keep it that way, how much do you know about what other CCP devs are doing? Do you have much insight into what parts of the game they're playing in, or only if they're in your corp or something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty open at work. I mean most people have like either 2 or 3 monitors at their workstations at work, and like 9 times out of 10, you'll walk past people's desk and at lunchtime, like maybe someone's playing League of Legends, maybe someone's playing Heroes of the Storm, someone's diving into like Battlegrounds or whatever. People are playing like Hearthstone, all kinds of stuff. There's like people start playing Civ on Steam. It's like there's such a random mix of gamers at CCP, and generally you'll find that people are working on 2 monitors, and then the third one has like a Twitch stream on it or something. They're playing like some kind of passive game or something like that while they're working. So, and more often than not as well, like I'll go down to like talk to the customer support team, or I'll go over to game design and someone will be like mining or running missions or whatever on a third display while they're actually actively working. So there's definitely a big culture of gaming at CCP, and there's a lot of people who do actually just sort of idly play and do the passive stuff while they're working at work. So yeah, I mean it's people are pretty open about it. I know we've had corporations in the past where there's been a group of CCPs played together and they've been doing like factional warfare, or they've been out in a wormhole, or they've been like a small corp that's roaming around in nullsec, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean we're pretty open about it, and generally we're not going to go out and sort of like out our own colleagues, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty relaxed in the office, and we're actually heavily encouraged to play the game and get involved with the game. So it's nice to see it. I've even seen like guys who work down in customer support suicide gank each other, for instance. Like one guy is sat mining with a group of barges in HiSec, and another 2 guys on the opposite side of the department will warp a couple of apocalypses in and just smart bomb them all and just kill them. So I've actually seen like people at CCP griefing each other in game live in the office. So it can be super interesting. And it's fun, and we do love to play the game, so it's nice to be able to kind of relax and unwind.
That's really cool.
I remember once going between 2 meetings at CCP when I was a dev, and I'm walking with CCP Soundwave, and he said, wait, let's stop by my desk for a second, I want to check something. So we walk up to his desk, and he's got Eve open on one monitor. And he's checking that. I go, what are you checking? He goes, I'm moving shipments through HiSec in a freighter, and I wanted to see if it had arrived at its destination yet. And it's not there yet. It's taken some time. I go, you're autopiloting a freighter through HiSec, and you're not even at your desk. You're in meetings. He goes, yeah, I do it all the time. I never get killed. And that boggled
never.
my mind.
Yep,
CCP
that's incredibly dumb, but it works. So, but yeah, I mean, like I've seen CCP as appear on kill boards in spectacular kill mails before, and that is one of the beautiful benefits of having anonymity. Is that if we do fuck up, then it's that kind of, it's not like lol that was CCP Falcon or something like that. It's like you can just sort of whistle and walk away, that's one really really nice thing.
Just there quietly chuckling to yourself if you see like an awesome loss of the day kind of thing come up, and you kind of like, I recognize that name.
I will say that in the last 5 years of playing Eve, I have appeared on Reddit at least once in a really stupid kill mail, and I've been like, anonymous, sucks to be me. It's it's fun, and I can just I just see like people just ripping it out of me, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm anonymous, so it's nice, it's okay. I don't have to worry about this. It won't tar and feather me.
Nice.
Now, as a dev is playing anonymously, though, is there or is there not someone checking up on them behind the scenes, just in case?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, obviously, everyone remembers what happened with the whole T20 thing. It's one of those things that will never go away. It's always going to be something that will be in the background. And I'm always like, I never shy away from talking about this kind of stuff. It's just something that happened. It's part of history, and we have to deal with it. But since then, there's it's kind of funny because nothing like that actually happens now. It's been something that's been drilled into CCP employees over the course of the years. But it's one of those things where we do get audited regularly. I think it's like it might actually be it's bi-weekly or monthly, I think. And it's one of those things where the internal affairs team will go in. They'll just basically audit people accounts. They'll take a look to make sure that you're not doing anything untoward, make sure that you're not, for instance, using insider information to trade early on the market, that kind of stuff. And they just keep a close eye on us and make sure that we're not doing anything crazy. And if it does occur that, something has happened, then it's generally sort of internal affairs will contact you. They'll be like, hey, what's been going on with this? What's happened with this, that, or the other? And you just basically explain yourself. For instance, one thing to show you how on point our internal affairs team are, back when we were creating the diplomatic shuttle for the CSM celebration for the 10th anniversary, the Concorde frigate that's actually a shuttle. I was sat with CCP Lulu, and we're deciding what skin we wanted to put on it, what color we wanted it to be, and I couldn't get the in-game preview, like the window in game, to display properly, and the lighting was really bad in it, so I couldn't really see the hues on the ship. So I was sat in Polaris in my on my dev character, just looking at them, and I was like, screw it, I'll just spawn them. So I just, in my hangar in Polaris, outside of the actual game environment the players play, I was like, I spawned all the different colors of the hull, and I was like, should we use this one? Should we use this one? Should we use this one? We selected one, and then I was like, great, let's use that one. Send it to the art team. Let's get it squared away, get the request, and we'll get it made. And I thought nothing of it, and I logged out of Eve. I went home, and the next morning, 9:30 a.m., I get a message from CCP Arcanon, and he's like, why is there Concorde frigates in your hangar on TQ? And I'm like, oh god, I spawned them yesterday for this, totally forgot about it, and yeah, I'll delete them now, it's no worries at all. He's like, yeah, no worries, just let me know in future if you're going to spawn things. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. So it's one of those things where it's kind of stuff like that happens now and again. I've had it happen quite a few times when I've been organizing live events, and we're spawning 30 super capitals to fit them to get them ready for an event. There's Titans flying around, all kinds of stuff. So it's really, really closely audited. There's all kind of automatic pings set up to make sure that internal affairs know when certain things are created, that kind of stuff. So it's very, very, it's super close monitoring. And it's I'm pretty convinced that if anything untoward did happen, it would be taken care of in like 2 or 3 hours. Like they would know about it at a bare minimum, probably sooner. So yeah, I mean, we are very, very closely monitored and very, very closely audited, but I don't feel like it's intrusive. It's just something that we deal with as players. And if you're doing, if you're playing the game regularly and you're not doing anything sketchy, then it's nothing to worry about. So I don't mind having CCP Arcanon kind of looking over my shoulder when I'm playing. I think it's perfectly fine, and I think it's acceptable to maintain the integrity of the game.
And if he sees you, he will know that that spectacular loss was you. But he keeps his mouth shut. He's great about that.
Yeah, I mean, like we generally have kind of an unwritten rule at the company where we don't. We obviously don't like spy on each other. We don't look at each other. We can't obviously spy on anyone else. We can't use internal tools to look things up, that kind of stuff. There's super strict sort of limitations on what we can do. And that also, that's also monitored by internal affairs. If we start looking at accounts, that sort of stuff, then it's like, why are you looking at this? I mean, I've had, for instance, when I've had to solve community tickets, and I've been looking at like crediting people Plex for events, that kinds of stuff. And occasionally you'll get an email from internal affairs and it'll be like, okay, why were you looking at this guy's account? And I'm like, oh yeah, I was just adding Plex to him for an event or something like that. And so it's really closely monitored, and they make sure that they keep us in check. But again, I don't think it's intrusive. It's just one of those things where day by day you've got to be kept an eye on a little bit to make sure that everything's peachy.
There was I'll tell one more story from my background. I had heard all about the T20 thing and all that, but it was more of like a massive story thing from the past, and everyone follows this follows these rules now. It wasn't really real to me until one day some of us were meeting up on a Saturday morning in Prikith to get breakfast. And I think we were just at the get coffee stage or something. We were going to go somewhere, and we're standing in the near the bar. And a guy comes up, starts talking to a couple of them, the people in the group. I was talking to a different employee on the side, and then he finishes and he walks away. And one of the people next to me goes, "Do you know who that was?" I go, "No." "That's T20. I'm like, holy shit, he's a real person and he's still in Reykjavik and all this stuff. And my mind was blown at that moment, right? Because it was a collision between the legends of these stories from the past and the fact that people still walk around on Earth. It's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things. Yeah, there's real people behind all of these avatars. There's there's a real person behind CCP Tuxford for accidentally shutting down TQ. There's real person behind Tom B. There's a real person behind every dev alias. And yeah, T20 it's a lovely guy, really nice guy. But it's just one of those things that happened when I like to say personally, when the company was kind of young and dumb and there weren't like a lot of policies in place for this kind of stuff, and a lot of the stuff that we were doing with Eve was kind of new ground. It was unknown. It wasn't really something that had been done in the MMO industry before. So yeah, I think maybe the company at that point in its life cycle was a little bit more naive than it is now. And it's something that you learn and you grow from. And we've grown now into a company because of that has sort of like some serious policies in place and some serious audit and that kind of stuff, just to make sure that everything stays above board. And with Eve being so competitive, you really do need that. I don't begrudge internal affairs for making sure that things are kept in line, because there's a lot of damage you could do, or there's a lot of sort of disruption that you could cause if you were to do something untoward. I think kind of everyone at CCP accepts that. They know that. They've seen what's happened in the past. The T20 thing being a perfect case of this. And we just, we run a straight ship now, and that's the way that it is. And I think, yeah, it's for the better.
What I'm wondering, have you ever heard about people not taking a job at CCP because they have to give up their Eve life?
Yeah, I've heard of this on occasion. It took me 6 years to finally take the plunge. Quite frankly, I was first talking about joining CCP, and I spoke to HR, and I was I was talking about coming to Iceland back in '06. And then for various reasons, at the time, my dad wasn't doing too well. He's great now, but he was in a bad way with his health back then. That plus the fact that I was having so much fun in Eve. I just founded my corporation a year earlier, and I was like, you know what? I'm not ready to make that step. I just wanna hang back. I want to play the game, and I want to do my thing. 2006 is my first FanFest as well, so I kind of got really ingrained in the community back then too. And I just I took a step back, took a breath, and I was like, I'm not ready to make that transition. And it took 6 years through till 2012 before I actually took the plunge and I joined the company. And yeah, I mean, for me, it was really, honestly, it sounds a bit like I'm kind of a little bit of a soft bitch when I say it, but it was a gut wrenching experience to leave behind like kind of 10 years worth of legacy, 10 years worth of friendships, 10 years worth of wingmen, and just like to have to start fresh. It was a really, really big decision. And it was a gut wrenching experience, but it was one of those things where I look back on it 5 years later and I still have all those friends, all those guys who were members of my corporation, all those guys I flew with, I spoke with. Sure, they know me by a different name now, but I still have all those friends. I still have all those experiences. And I think it was the best thing that I could have done at the time. So, yeah. And then, funnily enough, I actually, a little bit of an anecdote surrounding that. Because I was so ingrained in the community, when I had my 6-month meeting with CCP Arcanon, he was like, you've really surprised me. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, and I remember him saying, I honestly didn't think you would make the transition. I thought you would have quit because of how ingrained I was in the community. And it was one of those things. And I think a few people at CCP have experienced it where, you join the company, you've been an EVE player, you've been pretty prominent, and you almost get like a little bit of cabin fever where you're like, have I kind of made the right decision? Like, I really miss playing the game the way that I used to. I miss all my old friends. Have I made the right call? And I had that about a year into playing where I was like, shit, have I done the right thing? I was in a job in the UK. I've uprooted everything. I've moved out here. Like, I've lost everything I worked for like 10 years in EVE. Have I made the right call? And then after a couple of days of kind of soul searching, I was like, yeah, you know what, screw it, I made the right decision. And you just go from there. But there is always that that initial doubt about whether you're doing the right thing. But yeah, for me, I mean, it felt like a no-brainer at the time. I had that little bit of doubt after about a year or so, and now I'm just kind of super chill about the whole thing. I mean, I'm having fun, so it's all good.
It's definitely good to know that CCP employees are enjoying the game, and at least to some extent, making sure that they're well, maybe not affecting the game, but having fun with the game. Because that's one of the kind of things that I think from a player's perspective that you always kind of get a little bit concerned about with the developers of any kind of any particular game genre, sort of getting disenfranchised with the actual product that they're developing. So it's really good to know that you guys are in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I'm sure that if you ask any CCP developer, they'll say, I don't play as much as I used to. That's even true for me because, when you work on EVE for 8 hours a day and then you go home, sometimes you just want to do something else. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're a little bit burned out. You've been coding all day, or you've been working on design documents, or in my case, you've been dealing with community for 8 hours for a full day. I mean, sometimes I have days that are 10, 12, 13, 14 hours long in the office just because I love what I do. Like, I don't begrudge the fact that I spend that amount of time on it. And then you just come home and it's like, you know what, I'm not going to log in today. I'm just going to chill out and I'm going to play some Heroes or some Hearthstone, or I'm going to play some Civ or whatever. And you just do something else. So I think that, a lot of devs would say I play less than I used to as a player, but they're still involved. And I think as well, some of our designers, I would imagine, would probably, and some of our programmers maybe would probably say, I'd like to be able to play EVE a little bit less restricted. I'd like to be able to get into kind of the dirty side of things and I'd like to be able to do X, Y, or Z, but I can't because it's something that we can't really do without sort of drawing the eye of Sauron on us, kind of thing. But
What
yeah,
about if there's an employee who actually has a legitimate need to observe or participate or see some kind of gameplay? Can there be an exception? Can they go talk to CCP Arcanon in advance?
Yeah, I mean, like one thing that like people really, I think for employees who first come to the company, and this was the same for me, when I first came to the company, internal affairs was the scariest department in the world. They were like, it was like, yeah, it felt like the eye of Sauron looking down on you, and you were like, holy shit, I don't want to do anything that's gonna kind of like sort of anger the beast. But when you sort of settle in and you start just talking to IA and you get to know the guys, the security team are a lovely group of guys. And if you've ever got any issues or you want clarifications on something or you need to do something in game, just because you're on a little bit of a learning experience, you can just go downstairs, talk to them. They're super approachable and things get worked out. So it's super easy going in that respect, and I don't think there's ever any restrictions where ever like, no, you may not do this. This is the devil and you can't do it. It's like, it's sort of, if you're going to do anything that might be a little bit sketchy, or might sort of put the all-seeing eye on you, then you'll want to talk to IA in advance and make sure that everything's okay. But generally, as long as it's not something that will be classed as untoward, then you're all good. Arcanon is not a monster, contrary to popular belief. He's a lovely guy.
Also, if you are by any chance considering a career at CCP, and this is on your mind, I'll have to give up my characters and start all over and be incognito, and I won't be able to talk to all my posse that I normally talk to all day. Let me give you an opposite experience for a moment that will make you feel better about the CCP path. When I helped launch Age of Conan, we didn't have internal affairs. We weren't required to be incognito. My close friends all knew what character I was playing. They've told their friends, and it didn't take 3 days. The game was up 3 days. And I was constantly, anytime I logged in, receiving requests for, my friend got banned. I can't get this to work. I tried to teleport, I got killed. My other friend got banned. I mean, it was like that constantly. It was all tech support and no gameplay. And totally regretted that. This is a better system. It absolutely is.
It is. I mean, from my point of view, I actually tried playing in 2013, 2014. I did a little bit of an experiment because it was like, I wonder what it would be like to actually play Outed. And it was to the point where, because of the sandbox nature of Eve, it was that kind of stuff. It was like, as soon as I logged the character into the game, I was getting like invites to join corporations. I was getting emails about support tickets. I was getting all kinds of stuff. And I'm not ashamed to say that I lasted like 12 hours of gameplay before I was like, fuck this, I'm just like going back to being incognito. And I binned that character off because it was like, it wasn't necessarily like that I was begrudging having people contact me. I mean, I do that day to day. Every day I get 1,000,001 messages about, I got banned for RMT, or I got this, or I got that, or the other. Please help me. And I'm like, dude, I can't assist you. File a support ticket. Like, but to have that when you're just like kind of actively trying to play the game and chill out on your downtime, it can be a bit of a pain. And yeah, I mean, because of the sandbox nature of, going back to the point as well, because of the sandbox nature of Eve's gameplay, it was to the point where everywhere I went, I had people taking pot shots at me in high sec, low sec, null sec. Everyone wanted to be on a kill mail for a CCP dev's character, so I couldn't get anything done. Like, it didn't matter what I did when I undocked. It was like, lol, I killed Falcon again. And I'm like, yeah, this is just not for me. Because just like any other Eve player, when we play the game, we are entirely unprotected. We get no special privileges. Our training works the same as yours does. Our aggression flagging works the same as yours does. We are just as unprotected. So being outed just means that you get like the microscope put on you by fellow players, and you end up just being like, for want of a better phrase, ganked to shit constantly. And it's like, it can be a really big problem, and it really hampers your enjoyment of the game. And I experienced this, and like I said, I only lasted about 12 hours before I was like, yep, I'm going incognito again. And yeah, I live streamed a couple of those sessions, and it was to the point where, like, before Inception was out, and I was running through tutorial missions, I couldn't even get tutorial missions finished without people suicide ganking me. So I'm like, yeah, this is just not for me, sort of thing. It was super difficult, and that's not like a blight on the game or the community or anything like that. It's just, it's more about the completely like unrestricted gameplay that you have in terms of being able to blow shit up.
Yeah, that's like the Lord British experience that happened in beta in Ultima Online, where somebody was able to kill Richard Garriott when they really shouldn't have, and that was a big event in gaming history.
Yep.
I think I'm a bit too young for that one.
Thanks for making me feel old.
All right. Well, we're going to have to start wrapping up because we're at the end of our time. Actually, we went over a little bit. Thank you very much to CCP Falcon. I want to say a couple of housekeeping things and then invite you all if you have a shout out. Thank you to Seabass SA for your 29 months in a row. I'll come by and have a beer with you one of these days, bro.
Someone buy him a beer when you see him.
Exactly. Actually, I will see him on Thursday, the 15th or 16th of August for the next San Diego EVE player meetup. I love EVE player meetups. If you've never been to one in your area, dude, you are so missing out. It's like trying to explain to someone who's never had chocolate cake. I'm like, dude, you need to have this.
It's interesting. Like, honestly, I've never really been to any kind of like gaming meetup kind of thing, really ever, to be completely honest. Like, I think I've been to a couple of like trade shows sort of thing where it's been sort of like there's been sort of semi kind of stuff like that, but never an actual like player meetup kind of thing until playing EVE Online. And I have to say, like, it's a humbling experience because you meet people who you might have grudges with in game, and much like that that video that Porkbutt made of I think it was Las Vegas last year. Like Grath says, like, you may have grudges with people, but like when you meet them and have a beer with them and stuff like that, you actually kind of, I mean, it doesn't really affect you in game. You still sort of like fight people in game, but you have this mutual respect for each other, which
like
goes
magic.
a long way. Yeah, it does go a long way.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. You go someplace and you can openly talk about playing EVE, and especially like when you go to FanFest, and you just openly do it, and it's like nobody's going to think you're weird, and it's just like a natural thing.
It is funny, like, though, seeing a whole bunch of EVE nerds in a bar, not quite drunk enough to be really like super friendly with each other. So you get these situations where people are obviously have a little bit of nerves kind of meeting people for the first sort of time kind of thing, but it's just funny how that like dissolves away as the evening goes. It's great.
Yeah, I highly recommend getting involved in player gatherings, to be honest. By the way, McLeod, you have a British accent. I'm assuming you're in the UK. EVE London, November the 18th.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Try it out. It's if you've never been to a player gathering before, that's one of the easy entry pub gatherings where everyone just gets drunk and talks shit about spaceships. So it's definitely a good entry point, I would say.
I've been to a few, man. I've been to a few EVE London meetups already. The when it used to be Velo Corp meetup, and then it became the EVE London EVE kind of London thing.
Yeah, that was my baby for many years. I co-organized that alongside Dimitri Slavic for many years, and it was a hell of a fun thing. I'm actually going over again in November because I feel like I'm obliged to be there. It's almost genetic that I have to be at that gathering now.
Well, I'll see you there then. In that case,
definitely, man.
Buy you
Amen. What about EVE Vegas, CCP Falcon? Are you going to be there by chance?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm the program director for eVegas, so it's kind of for my sins. I have to be there. Unfortunately, I mean, it's it's not like I'm ever going to complain about being sent to Vegas, but it's part of the perks of the job, I guess. But yeah,
I was going to say, oh no, poor you.
I know, right? It's such a hard life. This is one of the reasons that I love my job, because I do get to go places. It's super cool. But yeah, in terms of eVegas, a little bit of an exclusive for you guys, in fact, because I'm about to announce it in like 15 minutes when I'm done with this podcast. We've actually sorted out the venue for this year's Saturday night party. We're actually going to be hosting. We're moving from the Chateau because we've also moved from Planet Hollywood to the Link, and we're actually going to be hosting the big party at Drea's Beach Club and Nightclub in Vegas this year. So that information about that's going to be going out in a little while, and that's open to everyone who has a ticket to eVegas. As well as that, in the next couple of weeks, we're hoping also to have a draft schedule out so you guys can see what's going to be going on at Vegas. So we're going to try and get that out super early. And we're also going to be supporting Able Gamers this year as well. So all of our charity raffle money, all of the funds we raise from various things we'll be doing at Vegas this year, including the silent auction, will all go to Able Gamers as kind of a little bit of a tribute to what the community did earlier this year when you guys raised $35,000 with a 72-hour live stream. That was pretty cool. So yeah, most of our guys and girls who've been involved with live streaming for charity. Will be helping us out, I would imagine, with stuff in Vegas. I've already been speaking to Scared Panda and a few other people about potentially doing a little bit of stuff for charity there. We've got a couple more events lined up that I'm not really ready to announce yet, that we're thinking about doing to raise a little bit more money for charity too. And then, of course, we've got all the usual presentations, roundtables, and we'll also be talking to our player speakers over the course of the next couple of weeks as well, and confirming who's going to be on stage for Vegas, that kind of stuff. We just need to get all of the developer content nailed down first, which we're doing over the course of the next week or so. And then we'll have more information. I'm actually hoping to have a draft schedule out maybe within the next week, 2 weeks, so that people can actually see what the deal is. And we're doing that this far in advance this year because the ticket sales for eVegas this year have been absolutely tremendous. Like, we are way beyond what we had for 2016. It's incredibly surprising, but yeah, we are very, very close to selling out of eVegas tickets, which would be incredible. And it's going to be an enormous event this year, to the point where we're actually considering bringing a few extra people out just to help with sort of the mingling, the meeting and greeting, and actually just having people there to be able to cope with the numbers we're expecting. To give you a little bit of a hint in terms of size, eVegas this year is almost as big as FanFest. It is absolutely colossal. And we're really glad that we've got a super good venue that can handle that kind of numbers because, yeah, we're looking at Vegas being pretty big. And we're going to have, more information about 2018, more information about sort of like our sort of longer term roadmap, as well as some information about what's going to be coming up in the winter expansion, and maybe some interesting concept-y stuff. We'll also be showing Valkyrie there as well, and Spark, because Spark will be out then. And then, as far as I'm aware, we're taking Spark. I hope I haven't just accidentally said something I shouldn't, but as far as I'm aware, we're going to be showing off everything we've got, basically. So it should be a pretty cool event, and it should be, yeah, definitely one for the books. So if you haven't already got eVegas tickets, vegas.eveonline.com, that needs to be a thing, and you've got to come out there and get drunk and play blackjack with us.
All right, we got to wind up now. Sorry. Thank you to those people who were showing support for this show. Believe it or not, it costs real money to put on a show and a podcast like this and upload things. So very cool. If you're listening to the podcast and you want to contribute to help offset some of the costs, which are mostly carried by Matterall, our normal host, you can do so by supporting him on patreon.com, patreon.com/Matterall. On behalf of the team, I'd like to thank you for your continual support. It's much appreciated. And then let's see if anyone has any shout outs on the team. Apple Pear.
Yeah, the only thing I'm talking about Eve means see you all at Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, amen. Falcon.
Yeah, shout out to all the guys from Eve Down Under, in fact. I had an amazing time while I was out there last week. I'm just recovering from the jet lag of being back, and also the amount of alcohol that I consumed while I was in Australia. These guys definitely know how to party. So shout out to Bam Stroker, Chimera, Otto Bismarck, Faulty Seven, all the guys who really did a sterling job of being involved in the organization of or hosting Eve Down Under. It was absolutely fantastic. And then, yeah, just a shout out to everyone who's listening. It's really nice to see so many people actually tune in. It's good to see so many awesome community initiatives like this. It's nice to see so many people streaming podcasts and creating content. And I'm hoping, with a bit of luck, that everyone who's involved in the, let's call it a deployment right now up north, is going to grow a pair and we're going to see some really, really big fights. I'd really like to see some crazy stuff happening in the run up to Vegas and in the run up to the winter. It should be great.
Yay.
And of
Me
course,
too.
happy birthday to Faulty Seven as well. I always have to say that whenever I'm on air on any show because he loves it. So it's going to be, yeah, should be good.
Awesome.
Yeah, Faulty's a sweetheart. McLeod.
Oh man, where do I start? Like, I'd have to give a shout out to all the guys at EVNT for the Alliance tournament coverage, and also
They're doing
I
a
think
damn good job.
they are doing an amazing job, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
And I think the EVNT kind of group are also the guys that are keeping up the Eve London meetup, right? If I
Yep,
can remember
indeed they are.
rightly. So I'm like really glad that that's still that's still a thing. So mad props to them for keeping that going, keeping that alive, which is awesome. And of course, I have to always do a shout out to my my Init bros and the guys from T-Grads.
Noisy.
Yay! Let's give a shout out to everybody going to eVegas. I will be out there, despite the flooding that happened apparently yesterday in the parking garage. And also a shout out to Dirk McGurk, who always says I only mention him when I'm saying something bad about him. Have a good vacation, Dirk.
We love you, Dirk.
Amen.
I
Amen.
imagine he's probably sipping some Tito's right now.
Good. He should do. All right. I want to say thank you to McLeod, our producer, for doing all the hard work behind the scenes to get this running. I want to say thank you to Apple Pear and Falcon and Noisy for coming on and helping us with this show today. Much obliged, sir. I know Friday was crazy busy for you. I don't know what it was, but I know you guys were busy. And I want to give a quick shout out to Exardia and his wife for delaying their vacation so they could sit and watch Talking in Stations This Morning Live. Thanks, guys. Don't torture her anymore. Just go.
I need to catch a plane. Quick.
And just thank you all for watching. See you next week.
Same bad time, same bad channel. See ya.